Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we're going to be doing some gameplay. I'm 5 pips away from Mythic, and this is a deck I've been playing a lot in Best of 1 Historic on my iPad, so not a huge amount of accumulated stats, but pretty much my entire climb, Platinum, and Diamond has been largely variations of Affinity, and we got a bunch of new cards in Jumpstart that really kind of boost the deck. So most of the decks you're going to see are actually Dimir, because we got access to 2 of the artifact lands. These cards are very, very powerful lands. They're banned in a number of formats for just breaking Affinity. But we got the blue and the black ones. So Sita, Synod. The Dimir ones, well, I'll show you a list like that. But I'm finding this version a little bit better into the broader field. And I'll explain some of the card choices in a sec. But with Affinity, what it gives you access to is Thoughtcast. A very strong card here. It basically, affinity for artifacts, for those unfamiliar, means this spell costs 1 less for each artifact you control. So this is effectively 1 mana, draw 2. And then we pair it with things like Thought Monitor, which a similar effect, but it gives you a 2/2 flying body with a little bit higher cost. So we're playing that kind of composition, plus we're playing Improvise, where you can tap artifacts to reduce the cost of your spell. So you can, for this example with Metallic Rebuke, it's basically 1 mana, tap 2 artifacts, and you mana leak your opponent. Same with Kappa Cannoneer, where you can improvise it into play for cheap. Basically, oftentimes it's a 1 mana spell, and then whenever artifacts come into play, it gets bigger, it becomes unblockable, and Ward 4 is very difficult for folks to deal with. In original list, I had 4 of these, but I found that you never really want to draw more than 1, because it's usually kind of your resource. You need to have an established amount of resources in place. So I'm playing an Azorius version today. It's mainly blue, but the reason we're playing white is for Esper Sentinel as a tax effect. This was a way for me to get some card advantage and a more proactive turn 1 play. Portable Hole. I found this over Fatal Push more effective. This can hit Goblin Bombardment. It can hit treasure tokens against like Belcher, for example. And the big thing against auras, that was the matchup I was having the hardest time with. It can, if your opponent gives pro color, if they give pro white and they have auras attached to it, it'll drop off the auras at least. So I like that a little bit better. It also leaves a permanent behind that I can tap for improvise or for affinity, which I liked as well. And then Ingenious Smith helps me dig. It's another creature that I can use as a win condition. So it helps me find kind of my silver bullet effects and dig to find special, like either more card draw or stuff like that. We have the Ornithopter Retrofitter Foundry combo. I'm on 3 Foundries, similar. I never wanted to draw more than 1, but I usually just want to see 1. And then a card that seems kind of innocuous, like why are you playing Tamiyo in this deck? Well, Tamiyo's kind of really, really good in this deck. When it attacks, you investigate, which creates artifact tokens, which help fuel the other synergies. It helps with affinity. It's a free way to get more tokens. It can help with improvise, but it's also very easy to flip this card with 8 copies between Thoughtcast and Thought Monitor, which works really nice. And this kind of slows down some of the aggressive decks. And then it also just lets me rebuy my Thoughtcast or my Metallic Rebuke as needed. Because we're playing best of 1, there's a lot of graveyard synergy decks, whether it be Woodlands, Persist combos, Reanimator. So I have Tormod's Crypt, free mana. Its failsafe is just its free affinity that plays with like Cannoneer stuff, and then it could just beat decks on its own. And another card that's really been flexible here, Aether Spellbomb. 1 mana, and either it just cycles for a colorless mana. I get to draw a card if needed late game. But for a blue mana, you can return target creature to its owner's hand. So you bounce their Big Aurous creature, the reanimate target, whatever it may be. But you could also bounce to your hand the Thought Monitor and then recast it again to draw some cards. So you get kind of that value there. So this is the list. This is the Azorius list. I'll show you the Dimir one. I found it okay, but I kept losing to some of the aggressive decks. So you have access to Fatal Push. Black gives you access to Blood Fountain, which is pretty useful. It creates 2 artifacts. And then we have access to Refurbish Familiar. This basically is a 1 mana, 2/1 flying, and then it forces your opponent to discard. If they can't discard, you get to draw a card. I was on 3 Kappas, but then we have the Vault of the Whispers in here as well. So like I said, I'm 5 pips in. With these demos, sometimes I'll do like curated lists. It's a lazy Sunday afternoon. I'm just going to play some Magic today. We're going to see how the deck plays out and kind of go from here. I find with this deck, it's a little streaky at times. So we win a few, lose a few, but I've been winning more than I've been losing, which is what you kind of want for a best of one deck. It is a low line count deck, so I've had some games where I kept like triple Esper Sentinel hand. I went 14 cards deep with a one-lander and didn't see another land, which is just kind of unlucky. But we'll play the game, see how it is. With this, it's really just to kind of demo the deck, show what the things can do, and as always, you know, we're about stats here, right? So regardless of the outcome, I'll have the stats on the back end. We'll kind of get a feel. But I was going to do my final stretch anyways. Thought I would record some games, get some demo, as some folks were asking to see how this deck plays out. One thing, like as we kind of wait for our opponent here, a good 6-hand is better than a mediocre 7. So what you really want is either to be able to do the retrofitter combo on turn 1, or you want to have one of your card draw engines in hand. They usually chain together fairly well, but if you just kind of dump your hand and no refill. So this hand here, we go first. We have Crypt, 2 Ingenious. We can find some effect. I think on the play I'll keep this because then I also have Metallic Rebuke. I like the Ingenious Smith, so I will start off with this. Probably lead on Llanowar here. So I'm going to keep the Crypt for this next turn. Treasure Vault. So this looks like it is an Affinity Mirror. So Treasure Vault's another land you can play. The one thing you need to be mindful, they can get hit by Wrath the Skies, which is impactful. I think here I'm just going to go with Portable Hole as my option. I could go Ornithopter as another cheap threat that turns on my thing, but I do maybe want to take out one of their ramp effects. I could go Kappa Cannoneer, but I don't have many ways to get it out right now. So I think the hole might be best as we kind of just chain through it here. We're probably going to hole next turn, so I'll just do this now, make it a 2-2. So this gets hit by Wrath the Skies, Divine Purge gets hit, so they have 3 artifacts. So the Frogmite's another card that could get played in these lists. It is a mythic. I find it kind of underwhelming, to be honest. Like a free 2-2, fine, whatever, but it's also at times just pretty mediocre. Okay, so I'm going to lead with... I think regardless we're doing this, so... Lead here. Gives me the options. I'm probably going to want to keep up the Rebuke this turn. Ah, that's... not good for us. Not good for us. So I actually can't keep it up this turn, so I missed out on a point of damage, which is kind of annoying. I do think that I had another artifact. So in retrospect, taking the Ornithopter would have been better. So we missed out on a point of damage. I can get rid of Ornithopter. I can get rid of Springleaf Drum. I think I'm just going to get rid of Ornithopter here. Makes the Foundries worse. So here we didn't draw any of our artifact lands, so Thought Monitor's looking a little worse. Their mana base is pretty stretched here, so they're really leveraging the Springleaf Drum in this one. So Nettle Cyst comes down. That was something we would want to counter. So they're playing a little bit bigger of a version. Nettle Cyst is a reasonable threat there. And then they Thought Monitor. So they're affinitying better than us this game. Our hand just didn't really come together. So this is kind of where I was saying, like, yeah, they're playing a bigger version than us. And then they saw a little bit more card draw. So yeah, we're dead here. You usually want to get under, because if we were able to hit the Nettle Cyst, it kind of shuts off the rest of their hand there. But the importance of being able to kind of chain early. We're a little bit fewer artifact lands. I just don't want colorless lands in the deck because we're on like Esper Sentinel, stuff like that. And I think some of like the Nettle Cyst is fine, but you have to play a little bit more in terms of mana. And I don't really like Springleaf Drum because it doesn't really do much unless you already have a board presence. And they're bad in like multiples, where at least Tormund's Crypt, stuff like that. But we go to the next one. This is kind of why we play through the deck. I haven't played against the big affinity yet. We've beaten up on the smaller affinity, but obviously like Portable Hole's a little worse in that matchup when they're playing free 7/7s or like 7 mana spells. Okay, so this hand here's a little awkward. So it's probably against wizards, but we don't have access to white mana. If we did, I would keep this hand. But Tamiyo's likely just going to eat some removal. I can't really interact, so I think it's a mulligan here. Hand's much better. So we're going to put the Hallowed Fountain back. I have Tamiyo available, also a Portable Hole depending on what they play. I have access to Metallic Rebuke with the Thoughtcast to make it cheaper. So this one's a good one. Obviously on the play would prefer, but we'll see how they play out. I think I'm only on like 17 or 18 lines. 18 lines. Called it. Might be just prowessy. I think we're gonna go like this.
If you need me, I'll be in the library.
So now, could hold it technically, but I'm gonna hold off. I'm not gonna block here. That's much more impactful to hit. If they go Reckless Charge, then yeah, I'll block the Swiss Spear. Actually, they get it big enough here that they're gonna hit me for 7. So we got another Portable Hole, which will be a nice follow-up play. Symmetry Sage is what we want to hit here. Pass the turn. Counter whatever their next play is. And then I'm able to Thoughtcast the following turn. There was a line where I could Thoughtcast flip my Tamiyo here, which might have been right, because now my Tamiyo is susceptible. But I have a counter spell anyways. If they go, it looks like they have Flame of Anor, which they'll have to decide. This isn't a wizard, so they don't get that double spell. And if they spend their whole turn just reckless charging back. That's an easy one. Taking out their wizard was big there. And then this incidentally will shut off Snapcaster Mage if they're on that. If they're on Arcanist, we can deal with that. So here, Thoughtcast. We hit the land, which is nice. So here, we'll plus.
But I'm not so easily defeated. Respect the library.
Get rid of that. Play out a 2/2 that draws 2. And now we're kind of chaining through the deck. We have Ornithopter here. We have 2 blockers. Anything that comes in with haste, even if they have like a land and something, I could block. They get a reduced thing, and then the bend. So we saw how Tamiyo this game kind of allowed us to bridge that in between. Made some tokens, and then it could soak up. And then what we would have done that turn is we would have minus Tamiyo and either got back Thoughtcast or a counterspell just to kind of sure up that game there. We had the Foundry combo going, so then we were just going to make 4/4s and take over the game. That's usually like how I like to approach these, where you can kind of pivot quickly. So early game you kind of control. They had a reasonable curve. In part, if they had like Soulstar Mage instead of Swiss Spear, would have been better, but could have been like a budget thing that they're not playing, or that's kind of like more pricey. But I've liked like this version better. We saw Portable Hole. Like in those games, if we had Fatal Push, we wouldn't have been able. It is, I guess, weaker to Flame of Anor, But there's a number of targets like we have. So like, do they take out our big things? Whatever it may be, but we'll give this a go. I think I'm like tracked at least. We'll pull up what the tracker says. Dark's been a bit slow for finding matches today. I'm 5-3, but we've been playing a lot. Like, it's a fun deck to just play like on the couch kind of thing. Urcon. Opponent goes first. Double Tameo's a little loose. Think we still try just because I have the artifact land, and then Ingenious Smith can help me dig. So they're on Belcher. Usually this match I've got to try to kill them as quick as possible. Oh, they might not be Belcher. Mono Green Devotion, perhaps. I did kind of mess that up because technically I don't have a Foundry in hand, but we'll probably go Foundry. They go Karn here, it's a little bad, but I can Thoughtcast. Really want to counterspell in this matchup, like hitting a key piece. Trailblazer's fine. Actually, that makes 5 mana. 1 from this, 4 from this. So it's basically free if they go into like Cavalier now. Great hand. Well, start with attacking. See what they do here. Could have something like Beseiju. So let's start with Thoughtcast. Plus here. I think I'm gonna Thoughtcast again, because if I could find a counterspell, it's really good. Okay, we find Portable Hole. So Portable Hole, I can get rid of the Fanatic at least. Which I think we will do that. It cuts them off a decent chunk of mana. They can get Tameo down to 3. They're gonna go pretty big on mana. Okay, well, if they're turn 4ing Tyrannix Rex, I'm just gonna lose. Uncounterable anyway, so it didn't really matter. 9 damage coming through. Take Tameo out here.
My research is ruined.
So I think it's Tormod's Crypt. Play this. Play Thought Monitor. More lands.
I will protect this library with my life.
So here, probably another Ingenious Smith. Try to find like an Ornithopter or something. Found Kappa, but it's a little late with that. I don't think I could get Kappa big enough. We'll try. So that's for probably trade with the Outcast here. They have another Haster. This isn't really like typical mono green, it's like a mono green Stompy. These aren't cards that you would normally see played. is Ward 4. If I could trade here, I'll take 9, take 8. They're just kind of popping off though. Thorn Mammoth fights again, so it kind of gets me there. Yeah, we're dead. That's part of like both the charm of Historic, but also a little bit. It's fairly wide open, so you build your deck for one thing. Mono Green Stompy is not a deck that, like, I don't think I've played against Tyrannix Rex ever. But we could see kind of how we chain together. Had we hit a counter spell, depending on how we sequence, maybe, but we weren't going to hit the Tyrannix Rex anyways. So this hand here is a bit of a trap. You're not doing anything on one. These aren't going to get cost reduced, so this is a mulligan. This hand is reasonable. We're going to keep. And I think we're going to do the same where we put this back, keep the lands, and try to get out Kappa here. That's like the worst draw. This can be Yogg, it could be some of the Eater of Bones combos. No, it's just so they missed a line drop, which is good. So this is a graveyard combo. I'm gonna use the land there. Here, trying to find Tormod's Crypt. Relic Rebuke's not bad. We could kind of mess up their following plays. We don't have a land available, but depending on what they do their next few turns, I can get back Thoughtcast here. 1, 2, 3. So Shifting Woodlands can be activated. They can get Omniscient. So they just have the turn 3 combo. We needed to find Tormod's Crypt, and they find Karn, which just beats us here. So this will probably be the Infinite Bounce combo. Yeah, with Ancestral Statue. So, I mean, turn 3, they perfectly hit Delirium into the combo with Karn in hand. Again, we have Tormod's Crypt, we win, but part of the best of one thing experience. I think the hand's fine. Because if you increase like the Tormod's Crypts, they're dead in some other matchups. So you want to be mindful of how many you're adding in. We could perhaps demo the Dimir version as well, just to give you a sense of what that deck does. I'm gonna try this one. With Sentinel, it can potentially draw some cards. We could get Affinity going. Okay. Belcher, which is pretty bad for us because we don't really interact with Belcher. So I need to find a counter spell here. Other land's not bad. They could combo us next turn. I just need to do this. Hope they don't have it this turn and go from there, but if they have it, they have it. I can't do much here. So I'm not playing. They just have... We've just been getting really unlucky with getting turn 3, and it's the next card too. So this has been now 3 games where we just get turn 3 comboed. Where we have, like, you counter the Iron Crag, you're fine, which is a little frustrating. I'll show the Dimir version quick. a little bit annoying when you when your opponent's just got a turn 3 perfect combo. The hand was a little iffy, but if we untap, we're likely winning that game. Just we could have drawn 4 cards plus their card for hand. We end up drawing the counter spell. We're fine. If they just go something like Brotherhood's End or something of that nature, we're probably still okay. We still kind of soak it up there, but turn 3, perfectly Graveyard Mill. Turn 3, Belcher combo with Ironcrag in that, which required them. So they had to have one of 4s 3 times in their opening 9 cards. That kind of worked for them, plus the lines to do it. Okay, so this hand here, we have Sea of Synod, we have Tameo. So I can't quite refurbish Familiar, but I could Tameo potentially get that going. So I think we keep this. Gonna be the Divine Purge deck now. Watch. Angels. Hold off so I can refurbish Familiar next turn then. This matchup might be a little tricky because I don't have a lot of interaction, and if they can kind of get ahead on the Angels, they can outpace me. So if they go like Bishop of Wings into Righteous Valkyrie, it's pretty bad. Lasara is another annoying one, just because it'll set up their future draws. Okay, the Whispers is nice. Discard a card here. Scurry Oak. So I need to find a counter spell here. So turn 2 here, I'm able to basically play out like all these things. We're drawing a lot of lands here, which is not encouraging. Thankfully draw a Thought Monitor. But too many lands on our side. Discarded a Scurry Oak. Skyclave here. And a life. Back here. Op is not what we want to see. Kappa Cannoneer is really nice. I'm gonna do this. Draw 2 cards. Play this out. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, no. Undo. 4. Undo. 4. 4. Loop. So we have the 5/5 here. I can make the 4/4 at instant speed, so we gotta kind of race now, but this could get unblockable. I have Thoughtcast for next turn. We're seeing here how like we could just cheat out a whole bunch of stuff. It's an annoying one, so we gotta be mindful because this can one-shot us. They're gonna get another Pride Mate. So with Ornithopter, I can sacrifice it here. We get the value. A lot of lands. I only play... Okay, that's actually insane. They've had enough, but... Little did they know that I drew 8 lands in my 16-land deck. So you can see how the second artifact land does help to kind of push through some of that stuff. At the end of the day, like, it's not a... I wouldn't say it's necessarily tier 1 in the sense of like Aura's kind of strategies. It's very strong when it gets going. It's somewhat easily disrupted, but it's really fun. And that's something like I haven't found like a deck in a while that I've really enjoyed, and kind of brewing in the space has been really enjoyable to see kind of what works, what doesn't, kind of playing into the various shells. Like you could go bigger with Nettlesys like we saw to the opponent's deck. That lets you put on a little bit more pressure. It can work nicely with the various flyers you have. You can go things like Esper Sentinel, obviously, kind of play in that regard. You can go the Retrofitter kind of shell. You could even go... It's probably too hard, though, because like to go up to Karn, I think. I still don't necessarily love like the big affinity one. I think the cards are pretty bad. Like the payoff, you get a free 2/2, but it's still a card slot in your deck. That's just not a good card. So this hand's pretty bad. We'll keep this one. It's probably just Dark Slick back. If this is Auras, then I gotta try to get out Kappa as quick as possible. Like Auras, could be Sack. Get him to discard here. Notably, this cannot be claimed the Firstborn. If we hit a land, we can get out Kappa next turn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would pay for itself, so worst case we do that. A land would be really good though. We did bin one, but all our other lands come into play untapped. So Bombardment's annoying, they can trade off the Trap Finder here. But let's just trade... No blocks. Just take the damage. They're probably going to do it anyways, but... They have a Johnny. It's a little bit bad. So this is why I like Portable Hole better. You're also, like with the other version, not as susceptible. Cameo here. Spellbomb. If they have a Johnny, they're just going to win. I can't play around the Johnny the way my hand was. We just never drew into like a Thoughtcast style effect, which we really needed. Nets. Could spend a bunch of resources to kill my Tameo here. If they want. I think I'm happy if they do, but push isn't bad after. And you can see here, like, if this was the other deck, this would have been a 1-mana removal spell that would have got rid of Bombardment. Which in this matchup, controlling Bombardment's very important. Now they're going to have a hard time dealing with this. So I can Fatal Push something, at least break up the Marionette Apprentice. Johnny can't hit Kappa. I can make an artifact with this. Amped Raptor. Souls is annoying. We're at a virtual 9 because they can ping. Another unlucky witness. Finding a lot here. I do need to take this Marionette Apprentice off the battlefield. I think if I was them, I would just attack in all. Like, you're losing them anyways. Thing there. Next turn, I could Tameo. I can get a draw. I can sack to draw, sack to draw. Tameo's attack would work. This gets it unblockable. Sack to draw. Maybe should have waited on the land. But if they killed it in response, then... They can kill Tameo here. Don't...
Tell me everything you know about this plane. Think before you act.
We'll pass the turn here. Seat puts up another point of damage here. They unlucky witnessed already for the turn. So they should probably change Unlucky Witness in this deck to the Artifact Monkey from Duskmourn because it's until the end of your next turn. Seems like a more reasonable update for the deck. Because they just lost out on some cards there. With a Johnny. Trigger on the stack. We're going to kill this. Johnny can't be around. Opting to go face here. That will put enough power. Obviously, I wanted to hit Marionette Apprentice because of the drain effect. Can't quite. I can just Tameo minus get back Fatal Push if needed. The line I can do. It's a bit tricky, this situation. We haven't really seen. So this is why I don't like playing multiple Kappas, where we're usually not in a great position to. And again, why I prefer... That'll get it to 3. I'll have to sack something, but Tameo's soaking up some damage here. They could Unlucky Witness to try to find some cards. Ornithopter is actually great. So Seat of the Synod. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. So play this out. Tap, tap. So it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can't beat a Johnny anyways. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. What happened? Okay. So that gets it to 9. I have at least a blocker here. Plus this is another blocker. I want to wait because, well, I can push one more point of damage this turn. They could have claimed the firstborn, so I don't want them to be able to steal my 4/4 and then be able to sack it. So this deck could very easily deal 14 to me. So they have 5 damage already on board. 6, 7, 8, 9 from the drains. Plus 4, so they technically could have lethal on me. Sacrifice this. They have another claim, they just beat me, but obviously can't do anything if they have 2 claims in hand. I think they got me regardless. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We'll see. I think they are 1 off if they don't have another creature. No creature, no creature, no creature. No! They hit it. That's a bit frustrating. Tad bit frustrating. That's kind of like what I don't love about this black one, where you don't have like answers to portable holes, stuff of that nature. But I'm gonna wrap this one up, give you a demo of the deck. We'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.